we're saying the last day, the Alter Rebbe is really taking us deep into the workings of our mind and heart. And he's describing a kind of emotion that's in the mind, an emotion that's in the mind. Now, generally, we've said that the mind is the place of seichel, intellect, and the heart is the place of emotion. But the mind and the heart have to connect. That's a fundamental necessity in life. Our mind and our heart have to connect. There's a story that a great psychiatrist or psychologist met the Rebbe Rashab, I believe, at a health spa. People go for healthy waters. And he spoke with the Rebbe and told him that his thoughts were very, very powerful and far-reaching, and it was too much for his heart to deal with. On the other hand, his passions were also very strong, and his mind couldn't cope with them. So at that point, nowadays we don't need cables. When I was a young man, until I was in my 30s, if you wanted to call long distance to Europe, you had to pay a very high price for the phone call, and the call went through undersea cables. That they laid cables connecting Europe and America. And so the Rebbe replied to him, to the psychiatrist or psychologist. It could be that it was Freud, but I'm not sure. But he said, well, we lay cables between the two of them. We connect the mind and the heart. It's absolutely essential. The mind and the heart should be connected. So therefore, how can they connect if they're two separate worlds? The mind is a whole world of its own, and the heart is a world of its own. So the answer is there has to be mediating factors. In other words, we have to have the potential for feeling in the mind and the potential for thought in the heart. So we speak about the meditations of my heart. Pondering something in your heart. So there is such a thing as a kind of thoughtfulness, intellect that's in the emotions. And similarly, it has to be the potential for emotions in the mind. That if you contemplate something that ought to generate a certain kind of emotion, then you can have that emotion in your mind, not as an emotion in your heart. You don't feel love and fear in your heart. So that hence the complaint. I don't feel anything. I daven, I don't feel anything. I understand I ought to feel, but I don't. So what's that? The Rebbe calls this here tavuna, love. So he says here on page 236, this intellectual emotion in the mind cannot properly be called love in the heart or fear of God in the heart, but it's tavuna, it's understanding of the emotion. And this tavuna can motivate and be like the inner life of what you do and what you say and even what you think. And this provides your performance of your learning of Torah and your performance of mitzvahs with a power. We spoke about these terms yesterday. Power and chayas and wings that enable it to fly. Without wings, doesn't fly. Without wings, your Torah and your mitzvahs, girls, heaven forbid, are just cold. And you will meet people like this. We're very careful to do all the mitzvahs the right way, but they are cold, frozen. And Hashem wants a good heart. He wants us to do things with our heart, with feeling. Especially feeling of love of mitzvahs, because love of mitzvahs is connected with love of Hashem. You love a mitzvah, you're loving Hashem. And loving Hashem is connected with loving your fellow Jew. So it's essential that we connect somehow the mind with the heart. And that's what we're talking about here It says Hashem connects a good thought with a good action. The simple meaning is, if you're thinking about doing a good thing, Hashem will help that you'll be able to do it. But here we're looking at it on a more pneumistic level, a more inward level, that the good thought is a tavuna thought, the emotion that you want to feel, that you ought to feel for doing it, and Hashem will, but it's only in your mind, Hashem will enable that emotion to motivate the things that you do, and thereby connect a good thought, which is a tavuna thought, with a good deed, which is the deed that you do, the mitzvahs that you do. So then continue on page 36, 236. This love and fear, which is referred to as tavuna, although it's not something you feel in your heart, it nonetheless will serve as wings for the Torah you learn and the mitzvahs you do, in the same way as if, here's the key words, it's as if you really felt love and fear revealed in your heart. And if you felt fear and love in your heart, last lines, page 236. How about you, Sarah Abigail? Are you with me on the page? You got the page?
Not on the page, but in my...
Okay, you're listening. Okay.
Yeah, I have a hard time following.
You would have performed them if you felt love and fear in your heart. You would perform your mitzvahs. You would learn Torah with the way you do. That's why you're here. With a desire and a fervor and a passion that you would feel in your heart, and the thirsting in your soul to be connected to Hashem, and a flaming love of Hashem in your heart, which is what we spoke about in the earlier chapters. Because a person otherwise might have been very depressed, learning about all these chapters, learning about the flaming love of Hashem in my heart, and I don't have it. I don't have it. Does that mean I'm a failure? No, it means you're human, you're normal. To have those feelings awaken in your heart, he says, many times, requires deep meditation on the greatness of Hashem. And as a result of this meditation, remember how we practice this, doing meditation on how God fills the whole world with life and fills every detail with life, and how wondrous is everything that we perceive in the world. And we remember our high school botany and biology and then chemistry and all the wondrous things that we discovered. And it fills our mind with awe. And then we go a step further, that a fact that Hashem fills the whole world with life, that's still not Hashem. That's just a radiation, a radiance from Hashem that fills the whole world with life. Hashem is infinitely greater than that. And the boundaries of nature that we live with are not boundaries to Hashem, it's not boundaries even to our cell phones, which do not recognize walls. Walls do not a prison make. Page 237. And since this tavuna in the mind and in the recesses of the heart, and we were speaking yesterday at the end of the class about what does it mean, recesses of the heart? Where is that? Where are the recesses? No, it's your heart. Where are the recesses of your heart? So I suggested that that's a subliminal consciousness that we have. And I gave you an example of the great sage, Rabbi Yehoshua, who's mentioned in Pirkei Avos in chapter 2. He's one of the great disciples of Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. That when he was a baby, his mother took him to the Beis HaMedrash that he should hear people learning Torah. He should hear the sounds of people learning Torah. Well, that gave him a subliminal connection to Hashem. And it teaches us also how careful we have to be when we're in our own homes and our own families with what we listen to and what we look at. Because all these influences, we're being bombarded with influences the whole time. and they have an effect on our soul. I used to drive a car, and it was a struggle not to listen to the radio, but I knew that it was a bad thing to listen to the radio. It's all junk. It's like a friend of mine, Rabbi Futterfass, Baruch Futterfass, said to me, he says, it's like you clean up your home, you make it spick and span for Pesach, and then you run a sewer through the living room. You have to be very careful. So where is that stored information? A Shalom Zacher. We welcome a newborn child to the community of the Jewish people. What do people do at a Shalom Zacher? They say L'chaim, and they give a bracha to the child, and give a bracha to the father and the mother. And that's how we welcome the child to this world. He was in a world that was totally good. The neshama during the 9 months of pregnancy, the neshama in the mother's womb is learning Torah with angels who are teaching him the whole Torah. You've heard this before. And when he's born, he gets a slap under the nose and he forgets it, everything. Why under the nose? Because the nose is where it says Hashem breathes the neshama into the nostrils of mankind, of man. So that's where the soul goes in. So at that very sensitive point, that's also where the soul goes out. When a person dies, where does the neshama go? It goes out through the nostrils. What are you doing? You're diving into the swimming pool?
No, here's my nose. Here's my soul.
I remember seeing a painting in the Victoria and Albert Museum. I used to live in London. And there's a painting there by Bruegel, a Dutch painter, showing a person, he's dying. He's lying on his bed, he's dying. And the two angels are coming and escorting a little neshamala, a little image of him, only sort of translucent. You can see through it. Like it's not physical, like his physical body, you can't see through it. And they're carrying this neshama up. And then ahead of them are two more diaphanous angels, and the body is more light is coming through the body, carrying it up higher, and this whole rank of angels upon angels upon angels carrying the different levels of this person's neshama up into heaven, where they actually disappear into the light of a huge source of light up there, and they are going towards the source of light, and eventually they disappear in the light. The light just goes right through them. And in the physical, Professor Dr. Emmer on Montgomery Street, when he was a student, I remember he came to our house, he spent the Shabbos with us, and he told us of an experiment. He's a brilliant physicist, and he said they have an experiment that they do with a kind of oven that they can heat it up, tremendously hot, and certain fire-resistant material that they can insert through a hole, an airtight hole into this oven, and you can see through this powerful glass, non-shattered glass, and you can see the effect that this rod that they would stick in would become different colors depending on how hot it was, until at the hottest point in the oven, the physical rod would disappear, would become one thing with the flame. You wouldn't see the rod anymore. The rod would be flaming with the flames, and you wouldn't think it was there until you took it out and you saw that it really was. So that's yes, ma'am. So that's what it means, the recesses of the mind, that we have all these influences from our earliest years, which have a powerful impact upon us, or traumatic experiences. Sometimes you're reading a lot about this nowadays of children who were abused, and they have totally suppressed memories of what happened to them. They have no recollection of what happened to them. But it's there. It affects them all the time. So these are the reset. Now we're talking about love and fear of God, that we are meditating upon it so deeply that it's in the recesses of the mind. So this tavuna, love in the mind and in the recesses of the heart, is not revealed love in the heart. It's not revealed fear of God in the heart. It's in the recesses of the mind. It's like subconscious. But it will lead a person to engage in Torah and mitzvahs. And if he had not thought about godly subjects and at least somehow touched this level of tavuna thought, subconscious feelings of love and fear, then he wouldn't have occupied himself with Torah and mitzvahs at all. In other words, the girl comes to the Chabad house for the first time in a college career, and she feels strangely moved. Again, like this story I told you about my brother-in-law. He saw the Rebbe, and I asked him afterwards, what did you think about the davening? And to me, it was a regular davening at 770. And to him, it was the most moving religious experience of his life. That's what he called it. So it touched something very deep in his subconscious. Or you hear stories of people who are exposed or experience to a religious experience, a ceremony or something, and suddenly burst into tears. They're so deeply moved and they don't know what is it's moving them. So this is what he's describing here, is emotions that are in the recesses of the heart and deep in the mind. And if we're not for them, then he wouldn't have come back to the Chabad house another time. He wouldn't have learned, he wouldn't have stayed for the shir, wouldn't have listened to the rabbi. And this can be very subtle. So that even if a person is by nature very studious, and so normally he would engage in Torah because that's his habit and his way of doing things, still the Rebbe says, no, that's also acceptable. That's also because of tavuna love, even though he doesn't feel in his heart real love, he does feel tavuna love, because if he wasn't going to be doing Torah and mitzvahs, which has become second nature to him, he would do other things. He'd go play pinochle, or shoot pool,
What is pinochle?
or go to the races. It's a card game.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up on your Google, pinochle. V'zeh, and this is what our sages said on the bottom of page 237, that the tavuna love has the power to elevate your Torah and your mitzvahs and to give it wings to soar aloft. And that's what it means. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref machshava tova l'maisa. He takes your tavuna thoughts and he connects them to what you do, that what you do should be as if you did it with love and fear in your heart, actually. There you have it clear. Page 238 at the top. Maila alav hakasuv ke'ilu asa. The Torah will consider it as if he actually had done it with love and fear. And it's this fear and love of God in the heart that enables the commandments to soar on high. Where do they soar to? That becomes the next question. Now we're going to get into Kabbalah. Remember, we have four worlds. The world that's unified with God is called the world of Atzilus, where the world is unified with God. Then we have the world of creation, which is a very, very high world for the highest ranks of angels and heavenly ministers and great tzaddikim. Their soul is rooted on this world, the world of creation, which is the first stage at which you have something that is not godliness itself, where godliness is hidden to the extent that we can speak about the existence of a world. Whereas in the world of Atzilus, we cannot do that. In the world of Atzilus is God. Is connected to God. The world of Bria, godliness is hidden. And then we go lower, and that's the realm of love motivated by deep intellectual meditation. The things that you do motivated, and when a person thinks deeply into godly subjects like we're talking about now, and that inspires you to learn and inspires you to do things, then the things that you learn and the things that you do, the soul that's in them is now elevated with these thoughts to the world of Bria, as long as you can keep your concentration and don't get distracted. What if you're not capable of that intense meditation and the love that in the heart that it generates, which is like flaming fire in your heart, and but you learn and you do. So then it says, do not despair. There's a natural love in the heart of every Jew, not from meditation. It's natural. It comes with the territory. It comes from being born in a Jewish family. It comes with your neshama. And it will cause you to learn Torah and to do mitzvahs. To get up early in the morning and come to class on time, when you would so much rather sleep or if you have to be up, at least have a cup of coffee or a yogurt with some banana. And still you overcome that and you come to class because you want to be connected to Hashem. That's your natural love and fear that's in the heart of every Jew. You have it, we all have it. And if that leads you to do Torah and mitzvahs, then the neshama of the Torah and mitzvahs that you do, the soul of the Torah and mitzvahs, also flies up, not up to the world of Bria,
There you go.
but the world of Yetzirah. Yetzirah means formation. So Bria is a creation, a spiritual form of all creation, and Yetzirah is the form of all creations. And without this love and fear of Hashem, on some level, then the Torah and the mitzvahs remain down here below. Famous story, the Maggid of Mezrich, Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, passed by a shul. They invited him to come in. He says, I can't go into that shul. He says, why? He says, there's no room. What do you mean there's no room? He says, it's full of Torah and mitzvahs. Yeah, that's why you should come in. No, I can't get in because all the Torah and mitzvahs just stayed there in the shul. They didn't go up anywhere. There was no love or fear in what they did. So love and fear are like wings that make the Torah you learn and the mitzvahs you do to soar. You have that in mind when you light candles tomorrow evening. 8 o'clock. Is that the light time tomorrow? 8 o'clock? 8:02, 8:05, something like that.
Wow.
So before you light your candle and you're sure that you're on the right time, just stop for a second, a moment of silence, and think about who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I'm lighting a candle. I'm bringing Shabbos into the room, into my life. And this is a mitzvah of Hashem. Light the candle. And it will soar. Okay, moving right along. Page 237, repeating what we just said, Hoyle at the top. Tavuna zu, that this tavuna love in your mind, but talume sliba in the recesses of your heart, that's what's leading you to light your candle And if you had not done this moment of meditation that I just described to you, moment of silence before you light the candle, then who knows what you would have done? You would have maybe gone to the kitchen and got a chocolate bar because you're tired from all the preparations for Shabbos. Bottom of page 237. Okay, this is what it means that the Almighty joins the good thought to a good deed. And now he explains that since your heart, in the middle of page 238, this is another, I'm taking it just more subtly. He asks the question, how can that happen? How can it happen that your heart can affect your deeds, your actions, the things you do with your hands, things you do with your arms, with your limbs? He says, because when you have fear and love of Hashem in your heart, since your heart is a physical organ, it's made of flesh and blood, so therefore it's like an intermediary between feelings, because you have feelings in your heart, and the feelings in your heart, as the blood circulates, it enables these feelings to influence the physical limbs. The heart is the source of vitality of all the organs in your body. So therefore, since the heart, being a physical material organ made of flesh and blood, therefore it can relate to the other organs in the body and give them life and clothe itself in the actions that you do with your physical body, and give your actions wings, so that when you give charity to somebody, you can do it with warmth and compassion. It says in the Talmud, in Baba Basra, a whole chapter there, a whole section about charity, that when you give charity to a poor person coldly, automatically you get 5 brachas, 6 brachas. It tells you what the brachas are. It gives you psukim to describe what is the source of each of these blessings. But if you give the same charity with a smile, that you show the person that you care about him or her, then it's 11 brachas. It's not no comparison. But the thing that same thing we have to remember, page 39, in the middle of the page, that this love and fear that are in the brain and the recesses of the heart we have to remember, are of a far higher order than the action, than the world of action. And therefore, these thoughts in your mind cannot enclose themselves in your actions. They cannot, because that's still your mind. And your actions are your physical body. And your physical body is resistant to feelings of love and fear. It's not a conductor. It's like trying to put electricity through a rubber light bulb, a toy light bulb. It's made of rubber and it won't light up. You can turn the switch on, it's not going to light up because it's not a conductor. Your body is not a conductor for such feelings of love and fear. So you've got these feelings in your mind, and your body is physical, and your feelings now, these tavuna feelings in your mind, are far higher order. See that line in the middle of right in the middle of page 239. They're of a far higher order than the actions that you do. Therefore, they cannot clothe themselves in your actions in your mitzvahs, and to become their power and their vitality, like love and fear in your heart really would become their vitality, because your heart feels emotions, and when you do something, then it soars. Well, you're not feeling anything in your heart because the tavuna love in your mind is much higher. Your intellectual activities are much higher than your physical activities. That's the bottom line. So therefore, we come on to what it says in this pasuk from we've quoted at the beginning of the chapter. If not for the fact that Hashem joins and unites together the feelings in your mind, the mind with the actions that you do, that enables them to fly, and that's what it means. Page 240 at the top. The tavuna, fear and love, are called good thoughts. They're not actual fear and love in a revealed state in the heart, only in the intelligence of the brain, as mentioned above, in the recesses of the heart. And therefore, this affects the joining of tavuna to action to elevate the mitzvahs and the Torah study carried out through the influence of these good thoughts that Hashem helps that they should be connected, and they soar up into the world of, remember, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. Godliness, creation, formation, action. So your actions now soar up as a result of Hashem's intervention, connecting your good thoughts with what you do, and it takes them up into the world of creation, the world of Bria. Page 242, and however, who's going to read the last paragraph? Who's a good reader? What? Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, Abigail, you don't have a book.
I can read it.
Okay, you can read it, Lima.
However, even without this joining, they rise to the world of Yetzirah by means of the natural fear and love, which are latent in the heart of all Jews from birth, as will be later explained by Lynn.
Very good. So, and with this, we complete chapter 16.
On to 17. Woo!
We start tomorrow, chapter 17. 17 is good.
Aren't all of the chapters good?
Well, good in Hebrew is what? What is good in Hebrew? Tov. How do you spell Tov? Tes is
Tanya.
9. Vav is 6. 9 and 6 is
17.
9 and 6 is not 17.
That is not 15.
15. Base. Tov has a vase at the end. Vase is 2. 15 and 2 is chapter 17. We're starting tomorrow. A good chapter. If Tova was here, I'd say that's a good name. Tov is good. And that's our present to Rabbi Majeski. There's a whole chapter thing at the end here. He describes the whole thing in Kabbalah terms, that Tavuna, we can rearrange the letters, that we have the base and the nun, which is a ben, which is a son, and a taf and a base, which is a bat, a son and a daughter. And this stands for levels of fear and levels of love. So it explains the whole thing in Kabbalah terms. So we understand, but I think we got the idea clear. Yes?
Yes.
It's a very subtle idea, very difficult. It's not an easy chapter. Okay. Ra Achrena. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ariel, what's this outfit you have? It looks so frilly and nice. This one, H&M. Is it a dress? It's so cool. It looks so
Frills on the
effortlessly fancy.
It's a maternity dress.